Hey friends, welcome to the Friday Check-In with Happily Even After Betrayal, and I'm so glad you're here. I have another good episode today. First, I want to start talking about my podcast this week. So this week, my podcast was called, What If Healing Starts When You Choose Spring and Leave Emotional Winter Behind? So what I mean by this is so often we get stuck in so many negative emotions after betrayal. However, some of us stay stuck quite a bit longer. And that's because our nervous system gets stuck in a freeze position, which is more depressed and sad, which of course you are. Your spouse had an affair. I want to show you that you can heal and be able to get out of that. And so you can start empowering yourself to make different choices or different decisions or decide what do you want. Totally possible to do regardless of whether your spouse is helping or not. You don't have to heal with your spouse. I promise you don't have to. You can heal on your own, and you don't have to heal in your marriage. You can get divorced, but healing is necessary, in my opinion, to move on and live your best life, regardless of your marital status. So I hope you go and listen to the podcast. I was stuck here for so many years and probably decades, and I didn't even realize it because I didn't understand my nervous system. And something that I'm so grateful that I learned is about how to regulate my nervous system. There's a lot of dysregulated people in the world, if you haven't noticed. And that is a tool and a skill, if you can learn it, is invaluable. This is something I teach in my program. This is something I want you to learn. I want everyone to understand and notice, oh, I'm getting dysregulated. I'm going into fight or flight or fawn or freeze. Your nervous system does all sorts of things to try to protect us, to try to warn us. However, oftentimes we just get stuck there and there's not movement, and it can be a really miserable, uncomfortable place. And I think unconsciously we're doing it. We don't even realize this is what's happening. So learning to understand your trauma, what trauma responses you have because you've experienced betrayal trauma, and to create safety within yourself, as well as regulate your nervous system, is the first tools that I teach when you are my client. If this sounds foreign to you, or if you're like, wow, I've been in therapy for years, which was my experience. I had been in therapy. Not once did anyone tell me about my nervous system until after I got divorced. I found a much better therapist, and that's something I learned about. And it was like this aha moment for me that was a really key component in changing my life and my healing. And so I'm very passionate about helping you do the same. Now let's move on to what's in the news. We are going to talk about Taylor Frankie Paul. And if you don't know who she is, we'll just say the instigator of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, which is filmed right here in Utah, which is where I live. I'm not really a reality TV person. When this came out, I was very curious. And of course, my daughter was curious. She's like, let's watch it. I love the show. And of course it's drama, and these girls are in their 20s and 30s. Really, they're creating this amazing brand for themselves and making lots of money, but emotionally, I think so many of them are struggling. And I don't know, reality TV of course is about the drama, and they do that on purpose. I just want to talk about the Taylor Frankie Paul situation. She was the Bachelorette, and of course the show has been canceled. I've never watched The Bachelorette, so I wasn't necessarily interested, although I probably would have watched this season because I like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's my indulgence, I guess I could say. But next week on my podcast, I do an episode called Reactive Abuse. I just want to give you my take on what's going on with Taylor Frankie Paul. First of all, I think that video, it was horrific. I don't condone violence or whatever that video was. I'm very sad that it was leaked to the public, but that's what happens when you're on reality TV. I'm sure someone made a lot of money by leaking that. And she, quite frankly, put herself out there. And she maybe thrives on all this drama, but that video happened 3 years ago and it's just now getting released. So if you haven't watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, you would know that in season 3, the beginning of season 3, it talks about how Taylor went to a very intensive therapy, like weeks of intensive therapy, and she had to leave her kids. And so I'm guessing that is why she did that. From that video, that was maybe one of the requirements. And you could really tell, like, she had really changed. And so I think we're judging this past version of her today. And I think that's really sad because I do believe people can change. And also the reason why I think that video happened, first of all, she said she had been drinking alcohol. So anytime that we add substances like alcohol or drugs, our mood is altered. And people do it all the time, especially after experiencing betrayal. They want to numb out. They don't want to feel their feelings. And so that feels better to them. And she had just discovered that Dakota, her baby daddy or whatever we want to call him, her boyfriend, had an affair with a family best friend that was her mom's age. No kidding, she was furious. No kidding, she was devastated. This is what a dysregulated nervous system can do, is react. And she reacted in a very violent way. And I just want to speak for myself because I myself could have totally been on TMZ before because of some of my reactions that I experienced when I found out my spouse was having an affair. And I share some of these stories in my podcast that I'm releasing, but one of them happened in the Salt Lake City airport when I was 7 months pregnant. My husband's girlfriend at the time showed up to pick him up, as well as I showed up to pick him up. That didn't go well. Back then, everyone didn't own a phone. Phones were just beginning. We didn't even have a cell phone, I don't think. That just wasn't a thing. And I was pregnant. I didn't have my little kids with me. I had left them at a friend's, but I couldn't tell you if they were still with me, would I have reacted the same? Maybe. And because what happens is when you experience something so traumatic, it's like your brain goes completely offline. You're not making any rational sense and you are just reacting. It's like an outer body experience. So those of you who are watching this and have experienced betrayal, some people shut down or don't say anything. Their bodies do all sorts of things. My body has done both. Probably fight or freeze. I've never left. Although actually maybe I have. I've probably done all three, fight, flight, or freeze, the moment I discovered my spouse was having an affair. And unfortunately, I had that experience many times because I just kept on hoping he would change and hoping to keep my family together. And for many reasons, I stayed married for 26 years. So I must have been a glutton for punishment. I don't know. I just have so much compassion for her and compassion for the situation because can you imagine you discover your boyfriend who you have a baby with had cheated on you with her mom's best friend / family friend. It's the betrayal of your boyfriend and the betrayal of the friend. And of course, then she had alcohol on top of that, which caused her to react. Now, I'm not saying it's okay, but these things happen. I have phone calls all the time with people, and what happens is there's a layer of shame. And I totally experienced that. I felt shame for so many years about what happened at the airport because I'm like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Maybe I am crazy. And of course, my husband fed into that narrative. You are crazy. You're out of control. What's wrong with you? My whole world just shattered at the airport. I probably have 3 really big instances, and I share 2 of the stories. The last one that I didn't share is I discovered a burner phone in my husband's closet one morning, and I had found a receipt a few weeks before this, and I did a podcast about this, and I realized in that moment my marriage was coming to an end, and it took about a year for that to happen, but then a few weeks after that I found this burner phone, and the name of the person on the receipt was on the burner phone, and I, in that moment, lost it. Now looking back, I wish I could have let him go to work and done some more detective work. However, I lost it and I started throwing things and I was screaming. My kids were home and they were older. I think my daughter was home. I don't know who all was there, but I don't think I cared. I was just so done because we just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. He bought me this massive diamond ring and we just celebrated my 50th birthday. He had thrown the amazing party, gone on the spring break trip, and then I'm looking at it. I'm pretty sure I threw something hard against the wall and it put a hole in it. And of course, he's calling me crazy. You're out of control. What's wrong with you? I'm thinking, what's wrong with me? You were cheating on me with someone I know. And that part felt a double betrayal. So I feel Taylor Frankie Paul a lot in this. And then I found out about another affair that I had no idea about. I just was myself. And I just say this, not to say what I did was right. It was out of control. My nervous system was so dysregulated that I was totally out of control. But I have so much compassion for past me because, first of all, I didn't even know how to regulate my nervous system. And I didn't know that was what the problem was. I didn't understand that. And I think that's why Taylor Frankie Paul went into some intense therapy. And she shows up so different on season 3. Now, I haven't watched season 4 yet. And I honestly haven't done tons of digging, but I did see the video and I leaned into the compassion because working with many of you, we do things in the moment of discovery that is like an outer body experience. And so if this has happened to you, I just want you to see if you can look through a lens of compassion. And of course, we need to make repair. But what happened to me back a long time ago, I got stuck in shame. I had so much shame for what I did. And so now fast forward to more recent times when I've done a few crazy things. One of them I just told you about, another one I'll tell you on the podcast. I didn't get stuck in the shame. Of course I reacted this way. I was able to acknowledge, okay, that wasn't okay that I did that, but it makes sense that I did. And I'm not a bad person. I was reacting to something, finding out he's having sex with another woman and in communications with another woman. He's telling someone else he loves them and that they're amazing. And all those insecurities of myself and all those things just came out in a flash second. Now, we hear it all the time. People will end up aliving someone for this, which is so sad. That's why it's so important. We need to learn how to regulate our emotions. Now that I know how to, I really don't get triggered. I might get triggered for a nanosecond or maybe a whole day if something bothers me. But in general, like I'm pretty in control of my emotions, which is, opinion has become a superpower of mine because I think I felt so out of control for so many years that I like that feeling and just in control of my own emotions. I'm not trying to control anyone else, just myself. And it feels very safe and peaceful and like I have my back. There's tragedy all the time, but that skill I think is invaluable. So as a coach, that's something I teach is how to get more regulated, how to become more resilient because bad things happen every day. And if we can just learn how to feel those feelings and process them, life is going to be so much more enjoyable and so much more fun. One last thing I was going to say, comparing Kristen Cabot, who I talked about with Oprah, the thing that I like about Taylor is she faces this head on. She is not in hiding, which creates transparency, I think, more and more accountability. She's very accountable, which I really admire because I think Kristen Cabot, she just hid, created shame, and it made her look more guilty. She was having an emotional, physical affair with her boss, but she stayed in hiding. I like that Taylor has been all these scandals. She isn't shrinking and being small. Now, some of you may not like that. It's totally fine. But I just think that says a lot about her that she isn't going to get stuck in shame and she's going to try to at least say what her opinion is. And I think it is really sad that this thing that happened 3 years ago is just now coming out. So where she had done all that healing, I don't know where she is today. I have no idea. But regardless, I just wanted to talk about that. The last thing I just wanted to say is I'll be sending out an email soon with the link to upload your bingo card if you did that, so you can have the opportunity to at least win a free coaching call. If you want to get more support and help, you can schedule a free call anytime. I have lots of availabilities. And just remember, coaching, having a coach, it really helps with your brain management because when we're experiencing something like betrayal, we are on a constant roller coaster every day. And some of you maybe have been on this for a little bit too long. I think anything a year and more, and if you're still feeling stuck, that is a great opportunity for you to try to maybe learn some new tools that could help you get unstuck because it's totally possible to heal. I took a long time to heal. So don't judge yourself. If you're like, there's something that I'm still stuck on from 20 years ago. It's okay. It's valid. And you can let it go when you're ready, when your body is ready to let it go. Anyways, have a beautiful day and I will talk to you next week.